if you want to have a rally where 99.99% of people are there not because they're racist, and neo-Nazis say we're going to rock up, what are you meant to do? Be cowed into silence?
Please don't come. I think Joe's falling into the trap that is exactly what you talked about in your introduction, but is exactly where the left are going to try and push this, and they're going to say this was a neo-Nazi protest, this was racist. The majority of people there are not neo-Nazis, are not racist. These core fanatics who are nuts, who are seriously crazy, there's a whole lot of them on the left too, and we don't talk about those nut jobs.
I do it all the time. Every time someone carries a Hamas flag or a picture of the Ayatollah or says death to the IDF, I have called that out every single time.
We've talked about this.
The problem is if we fall into the trap now of blanketing all of these Australians as neo-Nazis and racists, where the left are going to find themselves in a whole world of pain, and I hope they certainly do because they are leading this country down the garden path. What these Australians are saying is enough with this mass migration. It's not racist. It's not even targeted at a certain race or religion.
It is. They put out propaganda saying the number...
Sorry.
Joe,
they did. They put it out about Indians. They specifically put out propaganda saying there are more Indians that have come here.
The bulk of the people that turned up to the protests today are saying our country no longer looks like what our country used to look like. Everyday Australians, wherever you came from, because all of us come from somewhere else except the small population of Indigenous Australians, every single one of us come from somewhere else. And to blanket them all as racist, to blanket them all as neo-Nazis is a mistake. And, I mean, I can tell you my very strong views on the people that organise those pro-Palestinian rallies every weekend, and they are anti-Australian, the people that organise them.
Well, we tarred them. We
don't tar them at all because we let them go every single
weekend.
Into Rubber City, costing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, yet they are allowed to go every week. But as soon as everyday Australians say enough is enough, I cannot get my kids into the schools I want to get them into, they cannot get into the housing market, I cannot afford a rental property, crime rates are going through the roof. I mean, we haven't even touched on what's happening in Victoria. We're not saying, you know, where those crime gangs are coming from because we're not coming from third, fourth, fifth generation Australians. But we know that Australians have had enough is enough, and if the left want to paint them as racist, it is not going to end well. This country is divided and the divisions are only getting better. And if the Australian leaders and politicians don't start to see that, don't start making some proper representations and decisions, this country is really walking very, very close to a tinderbox.
And the problem is that the more they shout this racist, neo-Nazi
by the way,
or whatever...
the only violence today was from the pro-Palestinian...
Correct. They turned up and bashed a bloke up in Melbourne.
Such peace-loving people.
The more they carry on... Joe, can I finish? The more they carry on with, oh, you're racist or you're neo-Nazi or whatever... I mean, do they not realise, Evelyn, that it just emboldens people to say... You are opposed to me, an everyday Australian who has an issue with what mass migration is doing to this country. It's not about racism. The more you throw that word around, the more incensed people will become.
Well, look, it's not a mistake and it's not a coincidence that this is not just happening in Australia, but it's happening across the West. It was only today in the UK that they had similar protests. And so at some point in time, you have to say, maybe it's not conspiracy. Maybe people aren't making it up. Maybe people aren't racist. Maybe there's something real and legitimate as to why people are showing up and fronting at these protests. The logic of if a few bad, actors at a sort of protest or rally undermines the whole cause. If we go based off that logic, then democracy is dead. Because all somebody has to do is dress in all black and be an extremist and show up at a rally, and then it undermines the whole message. And you're right, Holly, the message today was that mass migration is killing us. It's kneecapping us, which it is. And there's nothing wrong, Joe, with people acknowledging the fact that we are taking migration levels from India, from China, from all those countries at an incredibly high rate. And they singled out Indians specifically. But it's true. But at what point?
The point, if I can interrupt.
But you said it wasn't about race.
No, Joe. The point in pointing out India was not to cast aspersions on Indian people.
Who are here, assimilated.
It was to make a direct comparison on previous waves of migration and how many people came, and to simply say that in this wave of migration, there are so many people who have come from one country alone. It's not to cast aspersions on those people. It's simply to demonstrate.
They felt. They were scared to show up to work.
It is simply... I showed you before an Indian at that rally in Sydney today.
Like those pro-Palestinians are making Australian
I'd like to see. You want to talk about a minority of Nazis being at the rally? I'd like to see what the minority of people who weren't white at that rally.
I'll bet you there were more than 30, which is. Oh, come on, Joe.
They're the actual card-carrying
Can I just explain what Joe's doing? He's got his list of talking points from ALP headquarters. He's saying this is the Labor Party line, and he's pushing it really hard.
This is their own words,
well as he can.
This is their own words. The organiser called for violence. The person
they did not call for violence today, and there was no violence today.
Just stop for a second and let the rest of the panel say something.
Say something accurate.
He was
say something
pretending
true.
that there's one organiser. There wasn't one organiser. There were a number of groups that organised this. One person might be an extremist. She did not organise the entire rally single-handed, and what she says does not represent people.
She's the official organiser.
And let me point out how he's misrepresented.
Point out facts, Kel.
Joe,
she is the official organiser. She is
Joe,
the one who lodged the paperwork.
And let me
and it's a fake name, but she's the only official organiser.
I'm going to read the quote from the website. It says, quote, more Indians came to Australia in 5 years than Greeks and Italians in 100 years. The concern is about numbers, not source.
You said it wasn't about race,
what it's about.
You said it wasn't about race.
Okay, but listen, why? No, hang on a second.
And again, these are people organising and pushing it. They're not just the people who rocked up.
Joe,
people in charge.
Hang on, listen. Because of the numbers. It looked for what group came in large numbers. They were the numbers. We want to talk about numbers. We don't care about race. Indians, as it happened, because they grew up under a nation shaped by the British Raj, fit in very well, and they have excellent English, and they're wonderful
migrants.
They
didn't feel like they were fitting in very well.
No one cares about that. What we care about
that. I do.
Joe,
come on,
hang on.
Joe,
stop.
Very quickly. I'm just going to give the final word very quickly to Evelyn, and then we'll move on because we could be here all night talking about this. But yes.
All I want to point out is that there is nothing wrong with having a national identity. And unfortunately, in Australia, we're having an identity crisis. Once upon a time, we knew what it meant to be an Australian. Today, there are plenty of Australians, including people who have migrated and assimilated here, who understood that. The point is, why can we not point out certain facts and certain truths without being called a racist? It is true. Everyone is allowed to have a homeland except for us, apparently. And there's nothing wrong with pointing out that we are taking in migrants at ungodly levels from countries that, unfortunately, in 2025 are finding a very hard time to assimilate to our Australian identity and our Australian culture. And it is not racist for pointing that out, because we will lose our home, we will lose our people, we will lose our culture, and that's sadly what's happening. And there's nothing wrong with saying, let's not have that.
To invite
stop it. The left are violent
today. There was no violence there today.
The left are more violent than anyone.
We've got to move on.
About calling
Joe, we've got to move on. There was no violence there today. I have to say that it was so easy.
And so
it was so easy to find people of migrant background there that Channel 9 managed to do it.
There was a guy with an accent doing an interview.
I'll show you quickly.
We managed to find one.
These are some. How hard do you reckon it was? Some vox pops taken at the rally today.
We're not a racist country. We just want a good calibre of people in here.
Love migration, okay? I'm from a family of immigrants as well. The point is, how many you bring in the country? Where do you house them?